I would like to welcome all the participants. Thank you for showing interest to our event. And once again, I will repeat, I think this panel is going to be the most interesting. Unfortunately, we are lagging behind our schedule. I hope that we will nevertheless cope with this time problem. So I would ask our speakers to be more specific and to speak in more condensed way. I'm happy to invite Head of Renewable Energy Department from the tech company, Ms. Victoria Saramatova. Good morning. I'm very grateful to the organizers who managed to bring so many interested people, so many people interested in renewable energy. I think that this big number of participants and interesting interventions prove that there is a big interest in society to the renewable energy sources. I would say a couple of words about big projects implemented by big businesses. Of course, we know that our country today faces a huge issue of energy independence, and this requires to increase the share of renewable energy sources in general energy mix. We have to reach ambitious target of 11% by 2025, and this requires a lot of efforts from business, which could bring, I think, the country to this ambitious target. I won't speak long today and won't speak much about the tech company. I'm sure you heard about it. I will just describe our projects in wind energy, in solar energy sectors, and I will be happy to answer questions from experts from other businesses and to invite you to visit our projects. I would offer just a couple of figures to remind you that the renewable energy sector has become a sector now. It's not just a couple of projects. It contributes more than 1 gigawatt of capacities. Actually, this is not much, a bit more than 1%, and out of that capacity are supplied by 1.3 gigawatts of solar energy and 210 megawatts of wind energy. This is contribution of 2 our DTEC renewable energy projects. First, I will begin from our Botievska wind power plant. This was started back in 2008 at the very beginning of renewable energy development in this country. At that time there were no much discussion about renewables in this country, but we always had been looking into the future, and from the very beginning we decided to make this pilot project. All those who are involved in the wind project, they know from experience that in Ukrainian conditions, you need some time from the moment when you put forward this idea and to final stage. You have to find a land plot, to make environmental impact assessment, to find money, etc. So we started construction, and in 2011, and in 2012 we already finished construction and commissioned the station, and I should say this was very short period of time. Of course, that dependent on the choice, on the right choice of land plot, and on the right organization of works in this project. Who were our partners in the project? Our partners was number one wind company, Vestas company from Germany. And actually this project attracted interest of big wind equipment suppliers from Europe to Ukraine. Usually in wind projects, a big issue is not about only wind turbines, but about the guarantees that investor can give to the equipment supplier for operational period. So I think that this case is a good demonstration of strong partnership, and it is a good example of how the interest from foreign companies was attracted. Now this company had entered Ukrainian market, and even in our panel membership, I can see other businesses who are partnering with Vestas company. Also, entry of Vestas company to Ukrainian market had paved the way for other European companies who wanted to enter Ukrainian market. I could mention Vestas, General Electric, Siemens, Nordex, and who are present here today. This is a success story. Maybe you already have a question about funding of such projects. How it is possible to finance the project? The shareholder, the company may have some resources, but of course for such big projects you need borrowed capital. And we have EBRD in Ukraine, HOFA, borrowed capital for such project. Also, you can involve export credit agencies from countries where turbines are usually produced. But it was not our case. We were funded by German bank with securities from secured loans from other countries, from Germany, from Denmark. And another source of our pride was that despite the complexity of this deal, we managed to implement it, and actually we won a prize for comprehensively structured financial deal, not only in Ukraine but even in Europe. Sometimes potential investors are deterred by the financial complexity in funding of the project, while with this very project it became an asset. What was interesting also about this project? this is one of 5 biggest wind stations in Europe. This required many innovative solutions, and we needed to invent new things also in the plant design and even in operation of it. Now it is even a tourist attraction, and we have a lot of clicks on our website. People sign up to sightseeing tours. They come not just to make pictures against the background of this nice landscape, but also a lot of experts in wind energy sector come. Recently, the ornithologist symposium was held there. And energy sector experts visited quite often, and I'm happy to invite you to come and see this wonderful, I believe, wind plant. Our next step in the area of renewable energy was Tryfanivska solar station. We analyzed several subsectors in renewable energy and looked at the growth factor and paid attention at the solar energy, but at that time the solar tariff before 2015, the solar energy tariffs were not attractive, and when after 2015 it was optimized, we have made attention to make this decisive step towards solar energy, to study the opportunities, and we have chosen a small pilot project. Actually, the technology here allows very prompt construction of solar power plant, so it took us only some 8 months to build up this almost 10 megawatt capacity project in Kherson region. This also required many innovations. Although it's believed that solar energy is easier technology than the wind one, but nevertheless specific local conditions required some innovative solutions from us. As for funding of this project, we approached to our national domestic financial institutions. This is not a big financial project, and we managed to cope with domestic funding. And again, we are happy to share experience with all those who are interested in this is a very fresh project, and the interest to it is now only starting to grow, but I believe that it is rather promising. So now when the question arises, do you believe into this business? Do you trust to this business? Our answer is very positive, which I wanted to show you with my presentation. This is good business, I mean renewable energy, and we should promote this trend among investors. This this business is a good mix which offers something to big investors, middle range investors, even to small investors, to households. Of course, we plan to enlarge our capacities here up to 1.5 gigawatts in total for wind and solar energy. And of course, we show some interest to other subsectors of renewables. I do not wish to describe our plans as of today, but we very closely follow up what's going on in bioenergy, and we keep an eye what's going on around us. What is important, and what we try to do consistently, this is to keep an eye on the innovations and to implement them in our new projects. That's why we contribute to Ukrenergo discussions, to the Ministry of Energy discussions about how renewables will be integrated into energy mix, how this might influence the grids, how it could be balanced in the general electric energy mix. So we want not to stay aside. We try to participate in the discussion, so we plan to remain very proactive. We also look very closely at the energy saving technologies, and our facilities become more and more energy efficient, and we are thinking about that offer that we can bring to the market about energy efficiency. We are thinking about service functions, especially energy service in generation delivery. That is what I wanted to share today with you. Thank you very much.
I want to say that I also took part in unveiling solar station, and I want to invite investors who are hesitating whether to join green energy or not. If the tech is coming to this sector, it is a good sign that you must, because you can earn money. Next topic, which is not less interesting, it is less traditional than solar wind, but it's also interesting with high green tariff, biogas technologies as a real alternative. And director of German biogas technology, and Destarenko, will tell us about those technology, how to achieve energy independence. I want to thank organizers for interesting event. Thank you for opportunity to speak. I would like to emphasize biogas topic once again. What product could be produced by biogas station, about the status with methane gas in Ukraine, what we have, what we don't have yet, and briefly demonstrate to you how it looks like. I will tell you one of our projects. You know, the natural gas and fossil fuels that we extract from soil, it was created million years, but now we can reduce this period and get biogas that takes only one agricultural season to grow it. You know how biogas stations work: raw materials, biological serum, then the production from some natural materials. Biogas is produced and then is converted to other products. What other product could be? First product of biogas station could be electricity. Thank God, our legislation does stimulate it. There is Law 2010 that supports the role of green tariff. The next product is heat that is produced as a side product. Here I want to emphasize that this issue is also regulated more or less at regulatory level. We know about amendments made in the law on heat supply to stimulate production of heat energy from renewable sources. Another interesting product is biofertilizer. This is the raw material that go back to the fields. Very good biofertilizer for our soils. We can mention the law of Ukraine, or amendments to the law adopted last year on the products of animal origin not suitable for human consumption. And the main product as such is biogas that could reach the level of natural gas, the amount of methane gas. In natural gas is 98%. Here we reach amount maybe 96%. Biogas is a mixture of methane and CO2 with some additions of water, steam, and sulfur dioxide. Biogas could be transported, it could be stored, it could be liquefied and kept, it could be brought to the level of natural gas, thus substituting natural gas in Ukraine. You understand how significant this topic is in Ukraine. Level of consumption of natural gas is still very high in Ukraine. Unfortunately, a great amount of natural gas is imported from other countries. Nowadays, prices for natural gas are not stable. There are moments, you remember, when prices for natural gas that we import were politically motivated. On the other hand, we have commitments to EU regarding stimulation of production of energy from renewable sources. Production of biogas reduces emissions of CO2 to the air. We have a well-developed gas transportation system. There are technical capacities to link biogas stations producing biomethane to gas network, thus to input it into gas network. We have the main transit system that strategically allow to use this biomethane for export to European countries. Regrettably enough, in Ukraine, we don't have legislative framework regulating biomethane in Ukraine. Therefore, we don't have production boom. Actually, there is no boom at all. Together with Energy Efficiency Agency, we decided what changes should be made in legislation to regulate this issue. A separate issue is size of green tariff for biomethane. It should be debated further to attract investment. But how could that look like? How biogas station producing biomethane will look like? I shall go you one example. Planus Biotechnic Company, biomethane production in Mechanderberg, 80 kilometers away from Berlin. It produces only 350 cubic meters of biomethane. It was built in 2015, commissioned in 2016. In March, we already got first biomethane. Biogas station is working using manure of ducks and maize silage, approximately 40 tons of manure, 40 tons of silage, with some additions. Biogas station contains two reactors, 30 by 8 meters, 560 cubic meters volume. We built additionally to reservoir to keep remnant. Gas holders contain considerable amount of biogas that in the future will help Ukraine to keep this biogas and to give it only at the moment of peak loads. Very spacious gas holders that allow to keep huge volumes of biogas. The cost of the project was 5.2 million euro without silage trenches. Since station is using silage, then the total cost of the project is 6 million euro, together with the silage consumption. What is of interest? Membrane cleaning of biogas technology is used. What was also interesting, that agreement for sale of biomethane was concluded before this facility was commissioned. Agreement for 12 years. Local network operator has signed this agreement. The cost of biomethane is linked to equivalent of kilowatt hour. That's about 770 euro for 1,000 cubic meters. What else is interest? The cost of connection to gas transport network was paid by operator of energy network. Since biogas is not input to the generator but is provided for gas cleaning, the normal gas boiler is used 300 kilowatts capacity every day, 335 years per year. Biogas could be produced. It is of interest for Ukraine, I think. Starting from next year, we shall have some changes in the law on that. That is as regards biomethane technology. In the break, I will be glad to answer your questions.
Thank you very much. I would like to underscore that this very sector has been developing in Ukraine now very rapidly. We now develop bylaws, and very soon we will speed up even this development. So our next presenter will describe the implementation of biomass boiler house project. I invite Mr. Sergei Kondratyuk. Good afternoon, dear participants. I am Sergei Kondratyuk. I am from analytical department of the APS Power Technology company. Our company has been dealing with renewable energy sources, with thermal energy based on biofuels, then biogas boilers, solid household waste boilers, and solar energy. One of our key sectors is implementation of big investment projects based on modular boiler house solutions based on pellets fuel. And our long-term experience and innovative approach allows to implement rather complex, comprehensive projects and contribute to the development of local infrastructure. Our experience allows us to split between the project, between different stages of the projects. We analyze the existent facilities, then do design, then we do pre-commissioning, commissioning, etc. And here you see the time frames for each such stage of project implementation. In general, we can design boiler houses between 1 and 50 megawatts. Then we are able to produce modular constructions and then transport them. This takes not usually more than 4 months. Then we do commissioning and commissioning. Then this is the structure of capital investments to the project. Up to 64% goes for the equipment, then design and design documentation cost up to 6%, then heating networks up to another 6%, then facilities up to 12%, and switch to the water supplies, etc., up to 6%. We have such, we had projects in such cities as Dnieper, Zaporozhye, Marganets, Pokrov, and general capacity is up to almost 54 megawatts, and this allows to substitute more than 10 million cubic meters of natural gas. This is a boiler house on pellets, and its capacity is 10.5 megawatts. It provides heating and hot water to 4 regional hospitals, and this successful case allowed us to confirm that this is a good solution and to develop the strategy for the future. In Dnieper, we have another 3 projects. These are boiler houses up to 10.5 megawatts, 7.5 megawatts, and 6 megawatts. In Marganets, we have a very unique project of boiler house. This is the modernized system of heating for the entire city. We constructed 6 brand new boiler houses. When in Pokrov town more than 50,000 of population appeared, the local municipality decided to modernize local boiler houses. So the technological achievements, we managed to decentralize heating supply systems, renovated infrastructure. Then we raised the efficiency of that boiler houses, automated them. We raised the quality of heating supply, and actually general trend of growing costs for fossil fuels suggests that pellets and pellet fuels and very soon will become the top priority fuel for boilers, and you saw the figures against fossil fuels like heavy oil, gas, etc. Then economic benefits are as follows. Substitution of imported gas, then high calorific capacity of pellets, and many others. Also, this is a good contribution to the rational use of natural resources. When we indignate gas or oil, big amounts or even coal, big amounts of CO2 are emitted. And while these pellets allow us to preserve nature and not to emit CO2 into atmosphere. So the environmental advantages of pellet boiler houses are obvious. So we decrease the use of fossil fuels. This is renewable energy, has no impact on CO2 level in atmosphere, low concentration of emissions in course of combustion, and easy to transport. So to wrap up, I would like to summarize that the technology of heating and hot water supply from boiler houses based on pellets was successfully tested and is recommended to the even to the whole municipalities. Decentralization of heating, revival of infrastructure also accompanies this useful your attention.
Thank you, Sergei. There is a trend to build such boiler houses. Sergei Sarchuk was taking part in opening similar boiler house in Slavutish. The question is, where to get raw materials, and the professional answer will be given by Irina Grab, Director Selex Energy, features of energy crops growing and biofuel production. Two figures only. We have more than 2 million hectares of land not high yield that are not good for production of agricultural crops, but you can grow raw materials for biogas, and you can make Ukraine as a country exporter and win the war from our neighbor without a single shot. Good morning, dear participants. I'm very pleased to see such wonderful audience. I see that interest is growing to renewables. That shows that maybe not so quickly, but surely we're moving to energy independence. I will share my experience of growing and burning biomass to generate heat energy. Biomass, renewable sources of energy. It could be grown. It could be divided in wooden biomass and grass biomass. We are growing wooden biomass. We have energetic willow. We planted first plantation in 2012. In 2014, we created big plantation of energy poplar tree. Now we have plantations of Polonia. There is grass biomass as well, but this is topic of other speakers. I shall speak about energy cultures. When generation heat and electricity from biomass, very important is where from to take biomass. Financial partners, investors always ask this question. Please show that you will guaranteed supply of biomass, and we could be sure that our investment in renewables will work and bring profit. Our project is an example of creation of so-called energy cluster that allows to grow biomass, to have a reliable supply and generate heat. What are advantages of creating such energy cluster? I shall emphasize again and again, a well-guaranteed supply of biomass. Guarantee of price. If you have your own plantation of energy cultures, you have fixed production costs for these cultures. And in the market, we see that the price of biomass is growing while your cost is fixed. and you're quite sure what will be your future financial indicators when you sell the energy. There are social benefits as well when creating such cluster. Jobs are created, circulation of funds within the community, tax revenues come to the budget of community. They don't waste it for buying gas outside. And the most important factor is natural gas is substituted, which is extremely important in the energy sector of Ukraine now. Our project with the capacity 3 and 4 megawatts, it's not very big, but it covers consumption of inhabitants of Ivaniji village in Volynska region. Plantations are quite big, and we are working on creating another generation facilities and to ban our own wood chips, not to sell it in the market. Why we chose Ivaniji for our project? We started from growing biomass, and we found location with relevant soils. Very important to burn it, to grow and burn biomass near generating facilities. We were actively, the community was looking actively for investors, and that contributed to its successful launch. Our project, our calculations were quite profitable. We calculated that raw materials are available, we shall sell what we produced. It is financially viable. When talking about economic indicators, last heating season provided saving almost 3 million hryvnias. We have the tariff based on which we were selling heat energy. There is price of gas, there is amount of salary. We have all well developed and calculated indicators. I think that both small towns and big cities must follow this way because it provides big economic and social benefits. One, we picked up such cultures for growing biomass. The product is wood chips with high level of calories similar to pine woods. And we use low yield soils which are quite plenty in Ukraine. You can pick up such lands, sign lease agreement and use these soils for growing biomass. 1 hectare plantation provide 20-ton increment. You can make calculations what volumes you will need for burning and what area you need for growing the necessary biomass. What factors influence climatic zone, indicators, quality of soil? Another important factor is logistics, because this raw material should be transported from the field to the burning facility, and we recommend you all please pay attention to that, especially if you create energy cluster. You planned it once, you included all this facility, and every year you get savings for reducing transportation from the field to the facility. You can find plenty of areas like that in Ukraine to grow energetic willow or poplar tree. In the western part, in the northern part of Ukraine, precipitations are sufficient for growing biomass. What are requirements of soils? We use soils that are not interesting for farmers for growing crops. High level of moisture and for growing agricultural crops are not very suitable, but they're very good for growing energetic cultures. All technology of growing is mainly agronomic factors. We plant this plantation, you see the red arrow. Then within first 2 years it's developed, and then you collect the crop 7 or 8 times. Once in 3 years we are collecting energy wood chips, while not planting plantation. It's done once in 25 years. That's how our plantations look at the moment of planting. Then they grow very, very quickly. That's how they look after we collected woods for wood chips. They grow in bushes, and growth of biomass is very quick. Brief photo reporting to you that you see it with your own eyes. Energetic willow, mature willow, photo taken from drone. These are our real fields, not pictures from the internet or from textbooks. These are our own fields. That's how energetic poplar looks like. It's very similar to energetic willow, but soil requirements are different. That's how we are collecting the crops. We are getting energetic wood chips immediately from the field. We are collecting that during winter time and ends in spring. And we work when weather allows us to yield the crops. Now briefly about our product, energetic wood chips. One of the indicators that we can influence is moisture level. In winter, moisture level is 45 to 50%, but in the course of 3 years of yielding the crops, we learned how to dry it, spending minimal energy, drying it in the natural way, because level of moisture impacts burning and number of gigacalories that you will produce. One of the big advantages of our product is very low contact of ashes, because crust is not very thick, and we don't have problems with cleaning the burners. They don't have the cokes that stop production and must be cleaned. What is the proof of great interest to growing of this energy culture at marginal lands? Project Horizon 2020, similar project, in which we participate at pilot plots. We plant different cultures, we see how it's growing, calculating economic indicators. That proves that not only Ukraine but our neighbors, European countries, are interested in using such marginal lands that are plenty in Ukraine. I invite you all to cooperation. We have nursery plantations where we grow different types of willow, poplar tree. We have exclusive rights for sale. Our nursery plants in Ukraine, we have all necessary equipment from planting and care and yielding the crops, and we have great experience because we are working in this project from 2011. We learned all the lessons, and now we believe that this is a very valuable experience. I thank you all for your attention and wish you all green energy. Thank you, Irina.
Probably you have a lot of questions. Unfortunately, we cannot allow ourselves to have a Q&A session. Please approach to Irina during break. Then now I would like to invite representative from Opt-Eka company, and today Mr. Taras Vasilievich will speak about wind energy. We do not have a lot of time. I would like to start with a teaser. Can you turn off the sound, please? Dear colleagues, This is a video which we shooted last month. This is our latest project, Carpathian Wind power plant with a total capacity of 31 megawatt. The construction conditions were very tough. This is pre-Carpathian area, and our financial investors were very important for us. EBRD, INAFCA contributed to funding of such projects. Such projects, they are costly ones, and they are very labor consuming and labor intensive, and they required a lot of support from local authorities. You need to engage the interest of local authorities in order to implement such projects successfully. This is our second wind power project. General capacity, total capacity is more than 50 megawatts. Our first project was implemented with wind generators from Vestas company. In a moment, you will see transportation, those wind power plants. You can see that this blade is 56 meters long. You can imagine how we had to cover all our Ukrainian roads. But nevertheless, for the next year, we plan such a next project. Actually, all our projects are ready to funding. We have carried out all preparatory works. We have got land plot permits, land plot allocation documents, and all the permits from local authorities. Now I would like to mention those obstacles which we face quite often when implementing such projects. Although the central authorities claim to delegate a lot of functions to the local level, but unfortunately in energy area some issues could be resolved only at the national level. Sometimes the functions between agencies are duplicated. And I would like to ask the Cabinet of Ministers to pay attention at such duplication. And when it comes to connections to the grid, again, this sometimes causes some problems. Also, we deal with solar projects. As of today, we have launched three solar power plants. We have built up several boiler houses. Actually, we are a company working mainly in the Western Ukraine. We comprise a design organization to our membership of companies. We both design and operate our constructed projects, so we encourage you to cooperation with us. Thank you very much for very brief presentation, for very informative video, and now I invite Director General of the Power Industry Group, Yugenergo Promtrans, Mr. Kav.
If possible, be very brief. I'm very pleased to see so many people who are interested in development of green energy. We can be quite sure that energy independence of Ukraine will come very soon. I'm one of the founders of a group of companies that first in Ukraine started being engaged in one of the most difficult green energy production of heat based on biomass. As soon as the law on green energy was enforced, we had a boiler station that used to be thermal power plant, but turbines were demounted and used for scrap metal, but there was a possibility to install new turbines. A boiler was using coal first, then mazout, then gas. Finally, we transferred it to use wooden chips. It was 20 megawatts capacity and it went to 30 megawatts. We have installed Russian turbine, Russian Kaula turbine. It was previously used turbine. Now it has all new parameters since new turbine is functioning. Our boiler house is 61 years old, but we installed facility from Rudnik company from Germany, and in the course of a year and a half we used our own money and implemented a project that is very successful, that enables our company to develop further. This facility is in Smila, Cherkasy region. If you wish to come, have a look and to understand how to start such a business. Please, we invite you. We were very pleased to show you everything, tell you everything. I'm talking quickly, but it was not so quickly. We had some failures. We traveled throughout Europe. We were in Hanover show. We visited Russia when we had good relations with Russia. And we decided to build a modern thermal power plant using biofuel. To buy new equipment, of course, it's very costly. Finnish, Austrian or German equipment cost up to 5 million euro for 1 megawatt. 25 million, and you should repay credit until 2030. So we were looking some equipment which is in good condition but not so costly. We found one station, started collecting money. While we were collecting money, it was sold to India already. Then our technical director, when being in England, she managed to buy of the two stations. It had been working for 70 hours, but for some reasons we had to sell it. The owner had to sell it and we bought it finally here in Ukraine. So we have this turbine which is using wooden chips, and we ordered equipment for production wooden chip from Germany. Now we are at this stage of commissioning and we are planning to launch it at the beginning of the next year. What advantages of this station? 1,500 sensors. It is fully automatic. If at our station and wood chips producing station 20 persons, now one person is working because production is automatic. One operator is only supervising it. We signed a contract with a company that will install and commission it. They will watch the work online regime. Once a year they will come to check it, repair in case of need. If they cannot come themselves, they can give us advice by telephone or through internet. So this station is installed. It is in line with all requirements. Please come to our place. We shall show you and everything and tell you about our benefit. So, advantages are tariff is in euro cents, we have bank guarantees. We were not using our own money, we were taking credits. Second station, we used our own money for 30%. EBID representatives left already, but I travel to London to their headquarters quite often asking for credit. Maybe because our project was not so big, it was not easy to get, but finally we got this credit in euro, we are repaying it quite well. So all that is true. That was told here, please apply to them, you will get a good credit. So whatever we have, wind or solar energy, that depends upon weather condition, but our biogas station is working day and night in all weather. We need not big area, 20 or 30 hectares only, not far from the forest. Location should be in such areas where you have raw materials. Maybe many times more raw materials that your needs are now. That will provide guarantees for sustainable supply. So your station should be not far from facility where capacity will be produced. Such stations are quite few in Ukraine. We are not competitors, we are rather partners to each other. We can give advice to each other. We can compete only as regards raw material. So when locating your station, please don't put it too far away, be 40 kilometers away from other station. Distance should be 150 or 200 kilometers from other similar station, and make calculations which raw materials which was we use. What are the drawbacks? Beneficial mechanism provided. Our colleagues from Ivankov tried to get these benefits under previous government. But in order to get beneficial tariff, they required resolution of Cabinet of Ministers for that. We could not get that. We used all the existing custom clearance mechanism. Lack of good specialist was mentioned. Yes, this equipment is quite complicated. 60 atmosphere pressure, very high temperature, 36 kilometers of cables in our small station. We don't have enough specialists in Ukraine able to install and maintain that. Therefore, we invite specialists from abroad. Although mounting companies could be found in Ukraine. So youth from Odessa, they can do it quite well. Although this process is quite complicated. What are the drawbacks? You cannot conclude long-term contract with a forester because wood is sold at the auctions, so you can have agreement only for 1 year. And as a rule, all the time you should repair something or change something, transformers should be changed. So these are some brief problems. I told you as much as I had time, but if you want to start similar business, please don't be shy, come to us. We visited similar facilities in England, in Germany. We have seen a lot. We have visited facilities. And once we visited a facility, after which we concluded that we saw what we should not do. So don't waste your money, learn on our lessons, come to us. We are finalizing our stations, please come to us. Our experienced specialist will tell you a lot. One more question important to all of us, not to contaminate environment with low-calorie heat. Because temperatures from 40 to 50 degrees, we are working on that. We have not resolved all environmental problems, but still this heat could be further used. Thank you for your attention. Our press secretary is here. She will tell you everything.
Thank you, Volodymyr Alexandrovich, for your interesting presentation. Now I'm pleased to give the floor to our international partner, and I invite CEO of Regional Chamber of Commerce in Vysočina, Chairman of the Board, Mr. Richard Horky, who will describe municipal energy reform in Czech Republic.
Dobrý deň, uvažené dámy, uvažení господа. Меня зовут Richard Горький. Я только владелец группы компаний ТТС, которая занимается уже 20 годов биомассой. Здесь вы видите, мы находимся, наша компания находится в городе Требич. Город Требич находится в южной части Республики Чехия, недалеко от Австрии. Мы лидеры в биомассе České republiky. Мы сделаем тепло в городе Требич и в 10 городах в стране Словакии. Мы выпускаем 900 тысяч гигаджоулов тепла. Это только 215 тысяч гигакалорий по вашему Мы получили в этом году в 6 месяце самую первую цену в Евросоюзе. Это цена от комиссии для энергетики, для бизнеса. Это для нас очень большая честь. Мы это получили на проект Trebišov, это наше новое тепло на Словакии. Но я буду говорить о перестройке города Требич, где мы этот город сделали с газа только на биомассу в прошлых годах. В городе Требич находится три котельни, север, юг и запад. На этих котельнях разные котлы, вы там видите котлы на щепу, котлы 3, 7, 3, 3, 3. Это котлы на щепу и три котлы на солому по 5 мегаваттов. Instalovaný výkon tam je 34 MW. My tam vypuskáme 320 000 gigajoulov tepla v rok v tom городе. Здесь вы видите, которые части города мы закрываем. Город Требич имеет 37 000 жителей. У нас там есть 45 километров новых теплотрасс. Мы сжигаем 32 000 тонн зеленой древней щепи и 7 000 tón salony. My otopливаем 9600 kvartírov, sadíky, školy, zavody, bolnici i tak další.
More than 32 tons of biomass and 7 tons of straw per day. In the year 2000, we have purchased that former boiler house, thermal boiler house, and started renovation. This is in northern part of the city, and at that time all the heating was supplied due to gas burning, and these were all the thermal boiler houses with small gas boilers in households. Now we had carried out full reconstruction. We renovated all the main pipes around it. This is very interesting project. These pictures show how that modernization was carried out gradually. We modernized from natural gas boilers to biomass boilers, and you can see how this was done gradually with the gradual substitution of gas facilities. Here now you see the heating prices, heating cost, this is split by many Czech cities and towns, and you can see that we offer 881 euros for 1 gigacalorie, and this is the second cheapest in Czech Republic. This was also mentioned by my colleague presenters today, that wood chips are very good for heating production. Here you can see our straw-based boilers and wood chip-based boilers, both in Czech Republic and in Slovakia, and they always work without any problems. This is heat production and heat delivery from wood chips and straw in Slovakia. These are our boilers on wood chips, and we can use very low quality wood chips with up to 55% of humidity. Also, we provide rather good cleaning of water steam coming out from the boilers. This is our project in Nikopol, working on straw. It's very rare when such projects work with just straw without any combined fuels, and this is very good and successful. Thank you very much. Thank you for your experience. Our next international presenter is CEO from Swiss company, Mr. Daniel Lipuri, who will describe the Dysenergy experience.
Hello, my name is Daniel Lepori. I'm CEO and founder of Dysenergy. We are an almost 7-year-old company, and what we basically do is, as you can see, we make a solar building material. What is a solar building material? Well, actually, we went a step further. This is the typical approach, which is not what we are doing, where you just put solar on top of an existing roof. The next step is, of course, trying to substitute the solar tile, the most external skin of a building, with a solar panel. And this is also known. We went a step further. We literally made a solar building material that has basically 3 main components. We call it TCR, tree active core roof. First of all, solar production. It just doesn't make sense that you have a surface towards the sun which is not producing energy. Secondly, and probably most important, we have energy saving means, because in the last 50 years, both in Switzerland, in Ukraine, but also in the rest of the world, the efficiency of a building was not central. And the best kilowatt hour is, first of all, the kilowatt hour you can save. And this is why right now we see a huge potential on all the buildings that were built, let's say, in the second half of the last century, because only lately building construction, engineering and prescriptions have raised this level, where basically you want to insulate with correct thermal insulation a building. And finally, of course, the third aspect of our system is water tightness. There are then further parts that I will explain later. Now, a few examples and some details. It was also very important for us that it looks nice. Finally, the architecture, the built environment, it's what's all around us. And this here is an example. We can also put chimneys. We can put windows into the roof and make sure that we have a nice smooth surface. This, for example, was the building of Save the Children that we did at the Milan International Expo 2 years ago. We then also, worked on all the aspects of the building physics, all the details, the gutters, the ridge of the roof, and everything. We then have also developed with another company a simulation software where Google Maps you can really very fast get to how much power you can install and how much energy, kilowatt hour, you can extract. And this is also very important. We have started with a product for pitched roofs, so around 4 or 5 degrees to 60 degrees of slope. We have on the left side 2 products for the residential market, and on the right side 1 more for warehouses and industrial. We have developed a smaller brother, as we like to call it, a product for flat roofs. In this case, we are not repairing or making water tightness and thermal insulation, but we provide one very important feature. Our modules can be placed flat and are step-proof. You can walk on them. The modules don't break, but most importantly, the cells inside, the wafers, are not breaking. And this is also very important, especially for maintenance and also during installation. And this is our latest child. This is also a little bit why we're here. We call it the super module, and basically the idea is that both on new buildings or on renewals, you can install very, very fast. You can see right on the right side below, basically 10 square meters of prefabbed roof from the ceiling, okay, from what you can see from below, through the thermal insulation, the water tightness, the solar system can be installed in about 2 minutes. And this has huge advantages from a perspective of quality, logistics, price, and just to give you an idea of a few very important projects, I brought 3 examples which are really, really interesting. This is the first one. It's an old warehouse in the area where we are from. We are from the south of Switzerland, close to Lugano. And this is an old shed roof that was full of asbestos, so basically a cancer in the air. And the owner of the building, basically together with a local public investor, decided to redo the roof with us. So the old asbestos roof was taken away. You can see there is only the understructure. And the project went so well that basically we were able to be about 2 months ahead of schedule. So the architect was calculating 2 weeks to have the installation done, and finally we got it only in 6 days. The other interesting aspect is that basically the owner of the building got the roof for free, while the investor into the electricity basically is making an investment that is providing a return. And at the end of the period where they can use the electricity, the owner is getting back the PV modules still working. Because right now, PV modules get guarantees of about 30 years with 85% of the initial power output. But the funny thing, not many know it, but we in Switzerland, close to our region, we have the first installation made in 1981, that at the time it was huge. Now it's ridiculous, but it was more than 10 kilowatt connected to the grid. Well, that system is still installed, and it's 36 years afterwards. Now it's still producing 70% of the initial value. So it's really interesting to transform a roof, which is something that you must have, into an income source. And the model is very nice because it could be, the real estate owner could be public and the investor could be private, or vice versa, or 2 private investors or 2 public investors. So it's a really interesting model. You can see here, this was the 25th of September. We were supposed, out of the 10 sheds of the roof, to have 3 completed, and we had already 5 completed. So we were 60% faster than what was expected. Another very interesting example, in Geneva, we did this, by the way, with the support of the Federal Office of Energy. Basically, they wanted to raise a 5-story building and go up to 7 stories. And the architects just wanted, you know, to make a normal flat roof, concrete, insulation, water tightness. And they figured out that the first figure, the 646,000 Swiss francs, was the quoted cost for a normal roof without solar, okay? And then we came and we thought, wait a minute, but what if we make on the 2 sides, slightly sloped, a PV system, which is structural, okay, and only in the middle we leave a flat part where you can put all the appliances. So you can put HVAC, lift boxes, aerators, and the funny thing, the price below, you can see the 660,000 was the price with 100 kilowatt of solar basically installed for free. So these people are now producing electricity for free, or they're paying back the roof with market spot electricity prices. Very, very interesting as well. Finally, to go a step further, because we always have to think, what are we doing out of this electricity? I mean, Germany was an example, but Switzerland will have the same problem, Ukraine will have the problem, and all the other countries. Solar is not stochastic. You have big production during the day, so you have to manage what can you do with this electricity, you know, to create a circular economy. This is a garage with 3 electric cars, and there is a buffer battery, which is actually coming from an electric car, okay? It was at the end of the life cycle of the electric car, and it was still perfect to be used as a stationary battery. So basically, when the cars are not there during the day, this stationary battery gets charged, and when the cars are there during the night, they get charged. And the great thing is that the 3 cars with this roof can drive 40,000 kilometers per year, saving about $4,000 of petrol per year. And basically, with this saving, they are not only paying back the solar system or the battery, they're paying back the whole building. So there are really, really interesting, amazing opportunities also with disappearing green tariffs, which, by the way, are important at the beginning of an industry because they allow volume. And volume and experience are the cost drivers, the cost reduction drivers, which are very important. So, just to give you a few examples, we won here the most important prize for energy in Switzerland in 2016. By the way, we got a production of 50% more than expected. We've done many other examples that I won't go through. This is another Ethernet roof renovation close to Bern, done with the biggest utility in Switzerland. We have a residential system for new buildings, old buildings. We have industrial and small plants, many other things. And finally, what we're doing here, we are basically expanding by licensing joint venture in our technology. And the idea is those materials, it doesn't make sense to transport them from Switzerland to here. But it makes much more sense to have local productions with licensed technology. And we are working right now with public and private building owners with big surfaces, okay? Because by providing this system, I mean, a roof is something that has to rebuild, and in Ukraine there are many roofs that need to be rebuilt, both privately and publicly. And with the feed-in tariff, or even without the feed-in tariff, the person who is making the investment is basically paying back the whole roof and not just a PV system. And I think this is the most important thing. And as I said, I can also tell you many other features that we have as an advantage, but the time is limited. I'm the last one. And I think everybody wants to have a little break. So I'm at your disposal. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your stay on your places, and I understand that you should be tired by this moment. And now I'm pleased to invite Mr. Stanislav Ignatiev, newly appointed head of the Reform Support and Implementation Office from the Ministry for Regional Development. I would like to speak today on behalf of the Kharkiv Energy Cluster. This is an association of energy generating organizations in Kharkiv region. We are not as big as the tech, but we have some experience in renewables. Kharkiv region, with the exclusion of the hostilities area, takes 20th position, took 20th position in the energy efficiency rating in Ukraine. This is second from the lowest positions, and we turned our attention to biomass potential, which is now very promising in the world, and we paid attention at the household waste, at sledges, at agri waste, etc. And we estimated the potential equal to Zmiyevska thermal power plant, 2.5 gigawatts. The total thermal energy potential in Oblast is bigger than Kharkiv CHP5, which generates half gigawatt per year and provides heating for 1.5 local residents in Kharkiv. So the biomass can be supplied for fuel, and we still will have something for fertilizing soils, etc. Unfortunately, a lot of biomass is wasted in the fields, in forests. When we look at the region data, you can see that small white squares, that was a share of biomass which is being used today. So then we looked and analyzed possible logistics of biomass supplies, and that brought us to the idea of bioenergy village, which can fully consume its own biomass for energy supply. As of today, this cooperative unites 12 different small energy generating units, which had proved that it can fully use this fully cover all the energy needs. Unfortunately, in line with the grant delivery conditions, they cannot sell the surplus of this energy, but nevertheless this shows the positive example. So the first step was to carry out energy audit of all the premises, and here you see an example of a German boiler house using the biomass, and they won a grant and spent it for a Polish line which prepares straw and forms the pellets good for burning in boilers. We managed to decrease the cost on fuels by 82%. Then we started to produce electric energy from solar cells, and we were recognized as the best project of energy generation in local communities. Here you see the example, the pilot project on biomass use. This is our first thermal power plant aside of a landfill, and we turn solid household waste into energy. Here you see how the plant turning biogas into energy. These are cattle breeding waste which are turned into heating, into boilers. Also they use biomass which is grown around this farm, and we will have our article with full day's experience in January in the magazine. We have some 2-3 minutes more, and I will spend them on announcement that on the framework of our conference we will sign a protocol about intentions between Czech Republic and the local community, and I am pleased to invite Mr. Richard Gorky and Mayor of Korosteń community to come up here and to sign up this protocol of intentions. You may describe this memorandum in some details. Dear colleagues, we had an opportunity to visit in Czech Republic. They attended Korosteń city, and today we are signing up a memorandum, and we plan to build up a boiler house based on wood chips to provide heating for a small district. This will be just a pilot project, and further on we plan to expand this positive experience, because we are in the midst of forestry region, and we have a lot of wood chips around us. I'm very grateful to the mayor of Korosteń city. When we started our projects with boilers in Ukraine, we understood that it is possible to develop here. Czech Export Bank is ready to deliver money for these projects, and we see the opportunities here. Another announcement to the participants: our coffee break is on the ground floor. There is a space for business-to-business meetings and to ask questions to the presenters, and after lunch we wait you here again.